Guys, thanks for being here today. Just wanted to discuss a few of the issues surrounding the aviation aftermarket, a few of the important things that we go through as peers within the industry. The first thing for me is just discussing what the current aftermarket and what is the market dictating at the moment, what we're seeing, what we're not seeing, what are the major problems that and the factors, driving factors within the industry to date. Same for you, Todd. Cristian, you've worked at some very high profile companies within the industry. I just want to get your take really about what the market is currently, what we're seeing in the market today.
Obviously our biggest challenge as a company is just aircraft and engine availability. Our focus being on engines even creates even more of a challenge for us. And then this is very important. That's probably the largest challenge. In a lot of cases, I think we're seeing not overpriced engines because it's the market value, but it's definitely out of our range to be able to turn it into, any kind of business profit.
Okay.
What I have noticed is that there's a huge influx of unserviceable engines hitting the market right now, which is going to affect the pricing. It's going to affect how the market is going to start dictating its fair market value. The OEM started getting more selective on their parts because they want to get select one engines. So those type of requirements, they make it more difficult for us.
Definitely, as far as the Vs, everyone seems to be looking for the Select 1 engine, Select 1 and Select 2s. There's more engines on the pre-selects, but they're not easily sought out for. And then the other thing is their prices, just like the CFMs, they're very highly priced.
We have seen a lot of overpriced items. And the other thing is, even if you get a D5 or an A5 engine, you still have to spend a lot of money, not only on the teardown, but also on the modification to make it to a Select 1 part number. So then your margin is not there. So then that drives the prices up.
So that brings me to my next point, asset values. What are we seeing? Because one of the things I've noticed when we're going out and bidding for assets, we might win 1 in 10, 1 in 20 bids that when we're competing for assets and tenders. Todd, maybe I'll bring that to you. Are you seeing a competitive market or are you seeing an oversaturated market?
Definitely it's a competitive market. It's probably very competitive today. And, in our business model, as far as, focusing on USM, primarily, what we're seeing is high repair costs, from the different MROs, which is really impacting our ability to model engines, not model engines, but be able to access the USM at a reasonable resale value and resell it on the market at a reasonable value. I think that impacts our ability to be competitive. We used to try to be out of our assets within 14 to 18 months, maybe, looking at 24 months to really recover investment and make the profit.
I think one of the main reasons is the aircraft and engine delays. That's making the current legacy engines extend more leases out there. So now you have these engines being modeled with a lower LLP, lower cycle LLPs, to where before we didn't. Typically we would value at a higher range versus now. So it's getting more aggressive in order to be able to model these engines.
What do you think is driving that competitive market?
I think it's a combination of a bunch of things, but mainly is because companies, when they need to go and acquire assets, they're building their engine models to 20% or 25% cash flow. But in order to be more competitive, they're bringing it down to the 15s, to the 13s, and even modeling other parts or extending their timeline. It's tough out there, and especially on the CFMs, it seems to be like it's an engine very popular out there. On the 5B, on the 7Bs, it seems to be that there's no room for error.
We've struggled, and I think a lot of people are in the same position. How much value do you put on those particular piece parts? How much yield will you realize once it goes through the repair process?
Overall, all the engines, when you're modeling them, you're looking at, the LLP value, the HPT, or the gas path parts, especially airfoils. When you have HPT airfoils scrapping out, in the 60, 70, 80% range, or in the case of CFM where they're, they have hard times, based on them and getting almost all scrap. It's a risk. That's our business, right? We do take risks on that. And hopefully we've built that risk into the models. So overall, we're able to come out positive. And then just overall, the newer engine issues, with the LEAP and the GTF are driving the market up on these other engines. So you've got to build all that into your risk factors and your cash flow that you had mentioned.
Absolutely. It's definitely an adjustment on the models because it's a combination of all those aspects. You also have to take into account cost of money. So how much are you borrowing all that for?
Yeah.
And then you build that all into the model. And you're definitely increasing your risk factors because you could put a value on one LLP, and if you lose it, you lose a lot of value.
Yeah, and I think this is the, with engines specifically, I mean, if you get it wrong, you can get burnt real bad. And I think this is what we need to understand as peers within the same industry. We have to be robust in what we're valuing. We have to understand how the market is very dynamic and how things shift over time.
I think there's been a lot of private equity that's come into the MRO market now that their focus has shifted more into profits rather than savings to the customer base.
I would definitely concur with that.
You really have to keep your eye on the different technical sites, especially like the FAA, where the NPRMs might come out and it's kind of triggers you to watch certain ADs that might be coming that would impact the value of the engines.
And even repair inspections. We have seen criterias on HPT blades that they have been sent to toss, on Pt.1 blades that they're supposed to have a really nice yield, and they have come back with all scrap.
And what sort of impact do you feel that has on our segment of the industry, the aftermarket, USM market? I mean, what sort of impact do you think that has? I mean, Victor, maybe this is for you. I mean, you see this every day.
Well, it impacts it negatively when you have high loss on parts that you model. Cristian made a point on the HPT blades and certain LLPs because of the induced AD sometimes. HPT blades, I think it's one aspect that is very, very strong because just losing some of them, it's a big impact because the HPT blades drive a lot of value for that whole engine model.
Tremendous value.
And repairing an engine drive your costs up if you're seeing 100% scrap on your HPT blades, and now your repair costs on an engine, could add $2 million easily just from scrap with the HPT blades.
From the customer's point of view, when they're overhauling their engine, their goal is to try to keep their costs down because if all these aspects drive it up, they have a very high cost engine to sit there and then either try to lease it, try to sell it. How do they get their money back out of it?
Well, guys, thanks for joining. Really appreciate your insights, and that's coming. Thanks for joining.